quick introduction. My name is Emily Brand, and I'm a chief architect here at Red Hat. I've worked for the company for the last 10 years, and I actually started as an application developer consultant, focused on modernization of my clients. So getting them onto as basic things of figuring out what CI/CD is and moving them on to Git, all the way to full-scale digital transformation and organizational change, and leveraging technology to provide value to their customers in a completely different way. And so, Dominic, I hope to do some I hope to be right by your talk and kind of help you guys understand about really what can change do for you, what is the benefit of digital transformation to yourself, to your day-to-day lives. So just kind of level setting on digital transformation, since I'm going to be talking about it quite a bit over the next 20 minutes. But really, digital transformation is about fundamentally changing how you operate and deliver value to customers. So a lot of times people say digital transformation in terms of IT transformation, where they're not addressing the why, as Dominic's example of recycling, which I love that. The kind of core problem, it's more how do we deliver faster to our customers. Speed of delivery is definitely an honorable thing to go about, but that is not digital transformation. Digital transformation is about providing something entirely different. So it is either disrupting yourself, disrupting your competitors, and leveraging technology and people to really make that change. And so just to kind of level set a little bit more, digital transformation obviously is not a new topic. Previous to that, it was called business transformation. There was a stint of digital leadership. It's had a bunch of different names in general, but one thing I want to get across is that digital transformation has been happening, but it has not been happening at the speed as it has in 2020. So obviously, we are sitting all remotely instead of in person, which would be fun. But because of that, our organizations and ourselves, we have to think differently. We have to act differently. And so 2020 has really been a change in especially cloud adoption, hybrid cloud adoption, and Kubernetes specifically, in terms of actually being able to containerize apps and get them out faster so they can, so companies can change the way that they deliver value to customers. And in terms of digital transformation, really the big thing is culture. That's really the hardest part. I'm going to be hammering on that quite a bit, but I want you all to also look at yourselves in terms of culture. Culture is hard to change no matter what. If you think of your family, if you think of your friends group, you know, it's not very healthy if you know, you're not transparent with each other, you're not honest with each other. So think about yourself. Are you transparent? Are you inclusive to your coworkers, to your customers? Do you adapt well? Do you collaborate well? And if the answer is no, then that's okay. Start thinking about how you can do better and get better at doing those things, especially remotely. I know a lot of my coworkers have very much struggled with the collaboration piece in terms of remote work, since you're not face to face. And so really think about, what am I struggling with, especially with most people still being remote probably to the end of next year. How are you changing your life? How are you trying to learn and do new things and be more inclusive? And in terms of kind of being better, training is insanely important and something you can definitely take advantage of when you're going through any type of organizational change. And if you're a manager or if you're an executive and you're not having your own employees and your teams prioritize education and training and expanding their minds, then that is definitely going to put a hindrance on your growth in the future. I know personally when I'm taking a week off, I'm like, oh, it's going to be so much. I'm not sure if I have time, all of that, whether that's PTO or training, and both of which are very important to make sure that you are staying up to date and staying refreshed. So those short-term losses of essentially stress, gaining stress, is very much a hindrance to training. And one of the biggest issues, and this has been running for years now, and IT talent or skills gaps are always the number one concern of any executive in terms of IT, where it's like, oh, do I have workers or can I get workers that have the right skills? And the answer is most likely no, because not enough of us prioritize our own training. So one thing I want to task each of you with is actually putting on the calendar a training you've been wanting to do, a book you've been meaning to read. Really focus on, okay, what can I do better in terms of my own education? How do I prioritize that? And start actually mapping out what your goals are in terms of an IT transformation of yourself. And really, when it comes to what it is you should be focusing on, especially if you're developing every day, writing code, is that I always like to look at the open source communities. I kind of grew up within the open source communities, have started a few of my own, and have contributed over the years. So look at kind of what's hot in the open source world and start learning that, start getting involved in that. So as Dominic talked about, Kubernetes is kind of where it's at. So especially if you're more on the infrastructure side, jump into the Kubernetes community, start to gain more knowledge there, start to gain more expertise, or understand what it is at the very least. And then also in terms of application development, your number one focus, if you are a developer, is about deploying code faster. So from the point that you have the ideation of an idea all the way to production, what would stop you from doing that in the next hour? And go through and work through with your team how you can actually speed that up. What is siloed out? What is out of your control and why? Start to ask questions, ask more of the why to your own employer, to your own organization, and really focus on trying to help be more at the cutting edge of your organization instead of kind of middle of the pack. It's very easy to get comfortable. And the issue with that right now is change is happening so fast that you won't even notice that you're left behind because it's all just moving so fast. You want to try to be running to really get to that cutting edge. And so what does this mean for you? As I said, culture really is the hardest part of any type of transformation. And culture starts with you. It starts with your best friend at the company. You know, start to really look at, okay, how am I being more transparent, more inclusive? How can I be more adaptable? Start really thinking about what things you do on a daily basis that prevents really the culture improvement that's needed in these times. And I kind of like to think of technology in these 5 pillars. And this is how I've always kind of mapped out my own learning and my own career paths. It's really looking at, okay, am I super interested in IT optimization? Am I interested in hybrid cloud? Am I interested in cloud native, agile integration, automation? Where do my interests lie and where does that align with my day-to-day job? and try to find a good pathway there. And that will make it a lot less overwhelming if you start thinking about, hey, what is it that I want to learn? Why do I want to learn it? If you can start to kind of categorize that learning process, it makes it a lot easier to kind of grasp what your next steps are and why. For me, that's very, very important. When I'm learning a new technology or trying to get a new certification, really understanding why it's important to me now, why it'll be important for me in a year, kind of what type of stepping stone is next. It's really important. And I don't think enough people really prioritize that type of education and education path. We're very much, lean into your career, ask for more, but you need to be asking more from yourself as well. More focus and really understand why you're focused in a particular direction. Don't let other people dictate that for you. Don't be a product of circumstance. Really try to do something different and really expand your mind, expand your horizons. So kind of getting back into the cloud development, Dominic and I are not getting super into app dev, but don't worry, the next speaker will be talking about how his organization actually went through transformation. But portability in terms of cloud development, so really thinking about, okay, in terms of my day-to-day life, my learning, am I really focused on cloud development and that portability? And if not, why not? What's stopping me from improving my code base tomorrow, improving the app I'm working on? Or if you're leading a team, how do you make sure that really understanding the cloud piece of it and the why in terms of microservices versus macro services and all of that fun stuff, but focused on that portability, the immutable frameworks, really important, as well as open source technology in general. Focus on that, try to stay away from proprietary as much as possible, mostly because at least in my opinion, open source is the future, and will continue to be so, because you can really see the health of open source communities by seeing how many commits there are, how many companies are supporting it, how many kind of volunteer developers are on it. And so when I'm looking to learn new things, that's really important to me when I am learning a new technology, and also deciding what technologies to use when I'm building applications. So kind of getting into the DevOps piece of it. So really focusing on a culture of innovation and actually, let me go back. So in terms of DevOps, the biggest benefit that I see from it is how you can actually look at it in terms of your own career path, your own learning, is just that you really need to allow for risk. You need to allow for agility and that adaptability. And so if you can kind of bring the DevOps pathway to your own life and practice it, then it becomes so much easier from an organizational standpoint to really grasp how you get there. Everyone is doing some form of DevOps today. Mostly people say, oh, I have this DevOps team, which is their CI/CD team, and that's not DevOps. But by being able to kind of personalize and internalize what DevOps truly means, and if you really practice that in a way that's not technology at all, then I personally think it's much easier to adapt to that world in your organization. And open your culture, really be transparent, help your coworkers be transparent, ask the right questions. And automation is key, but definitely focus on what and why you're automating. So one thing I've seen at times is that you overcomplicate your automation, and it gets to the point where people say, oh, don't touch it, it works, and then you can never upgrade anything. So really being modular on that is very, very important, and a lot of automation tools today allow you to do that. We personally sell Ansible, and so that's the one that I know. And it is very easy to kind of modularize your automation strategies so that then you don't completely overcomplicate everything and get to the point where you say, oh, don't touch that, it works. And as I had said before, in terms of getting the right platform, focus on open source technology, focus on the health of, if you are going proprietary, the health of the company, the health of the community, and the amount of learning that's out there. If IT skills gap is the #1 concern, then make sure when you're choosing technology that other people know it and that you can learn it rather easily. That's very, very important when you're going through any type of organizational change. And the biggest question I get on a daily basis in terms of, okay, what do we do next? You just start. So once you have an idea of where you want to go, start moving forward. Allow for failure, allow for risk, and just avoid long-term roadmaps. Pick an outside goal of, I would like to learn X, or I would like to do X, and then just start. Make small progress. Check in on yourself, make sure to keep metrics. All of that is very, very important, and hold yourself accountable, hold others accountable to make the changes that need to be done. And I know that there's some new grads on this, and so I definitely wanted to touch on what the future looks like. So where should you be focused on learning and improving in your organization, within your own training as well? If you're looking at 5G, if you're looking at cloud native development, if you're looking at machine learning, if you're looking at edge computing, Internet of Things, you're looking in the right direction. That's where all the investment is going, for sure. And so if you're looking to be cutting edge and trying to kind of change the way that you're looking at your own career, definitely focus on those key kind of technologies, if you will, kind of processes as well, if you are looking to make that change and to be cutting edge. And as I said, Kubernetes is extremely important. So if you're not sure where to start, that's pretty good spot, is looking at containers and containerization overall. Definitely recommend that. And keep in mind the mortality of companies. So the reason why you do not want to be the outcome of circumstance, the output of circumstance, is that the company you're working for might not even be there in 10 years. So you need to think of, okay, where do I want to go? And don't let your organization tell you where your expertise is going to lie. You need to own that piece of your career in terms of what you're interested in, because that company may not be there. You may not be with that company in 10 years. Not many people last 10 plus years in organizations anymore. I know I'm a rare one. So definitely take advantage of that. Early in my career, I kind of let the company tell me where I wanted to go. And as soon as I really found my passion, then that's when I was able to really expand my mind and my horizons at Red Hat. And the last thing I want to touch on is just breaking the culture of fear. So the hardest part of getting started, I know I said just start, but the hardest part of getting started is fear of failure. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like to not be good at things. So really just starting out and saying, okay, it's okay if I get it wrong this time. It's okay if I get it wrong the next time. It's okay if I make mistakes, and allowing yourself that space to make mistakes is very important in any type of learning process and any type of change. So really breaking your own culture of fear and not allowing others to have that fear as well when they're starting something new, if they're trying to improve. So focus on what you say to others as well when it comes to that overall culture of fear. We're all very, very afraid to do something wrong, and we have to allow ourselves to be wrong at times. And especially if you start, if you realize you made a mistake very early on in the process, it's a lot easier to fix than after you do a lot of work right on top of that. So definitely think of the culture of fear, allowing yourself to kind of have blameless postmortems, whether that's within your own training or within your own teams, to really focus on giving yourself that space.